Hi, this is Rosalyn Kahn with Community of Unity, and today I have with me Kristen Hotchkiss, and I want to tell you the story about how life goes and how the two of us came to be connected. You know, in this pandemic, so many of us have extra time on our hand that we find ourselves, as they say, tooling through Facebook and finding interesting stories. When I came across her story the very first time, she was a picture on a rock looking over, and she said how someone had passed. And I'd commented my sorrow and how sorry I was to hear about this. And I want to say this was a while ago, maybe several years before. And so when I came back and I hit upon this post, something inside of me said, I want to connect with this lady. And normally, when I connect with people I want to interview, it's a 10-minute conversation and we're done and finished. But when the two of us began talking, it was like we were best friends. I have a special place in my heart, and I don't know where it comes from, of people who've left our world and are no longer with us. But this lady has a really interesting story. So let me introduce Christine Hotchkiss and tell us about your story.
Hi, Rosalind. Thank you for having me. And I do remember that moment, and it was a long time ago. So during the 2020 year and the time that we're all spending on our computers because we had nowhere else we could go, right? You had
Right.
reached out again, and I saw your name in your picture, and I was like, why does this lady look familiar? Because life happens, right?
Right.
And so then here we are again. And this is a great honor to actually get to know you a bit more and not just, like you said, the 10-minute one and done kind of thing. We've actually talked a few other times, which is really good because I love to connect with people as you love to connect with people. And for me, that is how I began with where I'm at, is because the connection with me is my journey and my story, which brought me through the 2020 era of being able to create a podcast that was based on my story and now other people's stories, helping other people through their stories, whether it's tragedy, illness, or unforeseen circumstances. Um, you want me to tell you right away what it is that I
So,
do, or
so
you want to hear about my story?
I want to hear about your story because stories are what bring people together, and that's what
They
unites
do.
us. So please tell us a story.
They do. Oh, story time. Story. My story is, and it's a heavy conversation. The passing of a loved one is very, very heavy. As you had mentioned in the beginning, that you had seen something that was related to the loss of a loved one. That is the loss of my 17-year-old daughter, Nicole Marie, New Year's Day, 2007. So when I look back at the time frame when we would have initially contacted one another, that is a bit of time, and a lot has changed in that time, including the growth of myself. So the story that I live, and I live with a legacy of living life through loss,
Right.
knowing that something different has happened to me doesn't mean that I have to live differently, be treated differently, or not chase my dreams and help other people get through their journey. And so the loss of my daughter was a tragic one. My family and I were in a rollover accident in California, and my daughter was ejected from the vehicle, and I had to go find her. And I don't get into the details because that's another heavy topic. But what I did do with the visions that I have about that day, that night, that week, that year, the years that have followed, is how do I turn that pain around to help not just myself and my son, because my family has broken apart, and make sure that we still live a good life and we still can value the things that we were valuing before tragedy changed our life, right?
Wow,
And so
that is so true. I mean, I was in a group with a lady by the name of Lori H. Davis, a member of GSFE, and we were talking about how in those events of misfortune, there's always lessons if we're able to open our eyes. What is one of the greatest things that you've taken away from that experience? Or,
that's a great question. And I love answering this because I've only had it been asked to me a couple times. And the lesson in this was not just me saying to you that you can live life even though something different has happened to you, is we walk around, drive around, however we live our lives, and we pass the smallest of things. You've heard the cliche, it's the little things that matter, right? I'm that person who is walking past and looking at the little things, looking for the little things, and being more appreciative to the things that I see and what I had versus being in the sadness of the loss, saying, well, this is where she would be today. Well, she's not here today because that's not the chapters that were written for her life. but the chapters I have lived and I'm living right now are what I'm doing, and that is being appreciative, being in the now, and being in the moment of everything that comes in my life because I don't know when my last day is going to be. So I don't want to mess anything up by saying I ran out of time. I don't I don't believe in running out of time. If you say you don't have time, you haven't made the time or you weren't interested. That's how I've looked at
Most important thing that you said is appreciating each and every moment. I mean, as I was listening to a conversation with someone, and it was like life is never a perfect stream of everything always goes your way in the way that you want it to. But in between there, those peaks of those moments of those things we can celebrate. I was on a conversation with Carolyn Makaka, and she and I are going to be looking to do some amazing things with the women of Nigeria. And the fact that this web page came out, and there were all sorts of other things. But there are small things that we can appreciate each and every day. And one of the things I learned in this group this morning is when life goes ahead and hits you by the hard one, I want you to try this out. What is something you absolutely love? Something that brings you great joy and happiness? Any
Truthfully,
anything.
everything that I do and I touch and that I meet gives me greatness in my heart. And the one thing that I find the most gratifying selflessly is my podcast Stories of Hope because I get to hear other people's stories. And when I hear their stories, I know that when other people are listening to it, it's helping them too. And I don't even know who those people are that are listening unless they reach out to me, which does happen. And they say, I would love to get in touch with the guest who did this. So the person who talked about that, because
Right,
they're feeling I'm not alone. It's a me too factor, right?
right.
That's my greatest takeaway
So,
on everything that
so,
I've gone through.
so they said that when life hits you at the worst, to think about your podcasts and start with the letter A. The letter A. Is there some person that you spoke that had a letter A or something that they said that stuck with your mind? Was there an Alma, an Anna Marie, Anastasia, or did they say always smile or apples are the greatest thing to your heart or something with the letter A that you can think of spontaneously?
No, not A. I mean, when I think of A, not as a guest, I think of my son, who this might be a good answer for you. That's one that I can take totally to my heart. And that is my son's name is Austin.
There you go.
And he reminds me all the time, even just this morning, Mama, I know you went through a lot and you come up on top, and I am the man that I didn't know I could be because you did what you had to do. And he goes, and I don't even know what those are. He goes, because I was a teenager. He says, but you had other things that came at you, like you just said, they can bring you down, but you still kept getting up and rising up and keep moving forward. So thank you for allowing me to be the man that I am today. So that's your A for today.
That's your A for the day, and we'll just go through two more, okay? When you think
Uh-huh.
of B, is there a B name or a B story that you can remember for something with the letter B?
B. I can't say I've had anyone with the B. So if anyone wants to be one of my guests, that's good too. No, I don't have anybody.
Okay, so here's your B. Your B is the person who told you be the best that you can be. And that's what you're going to remember when you come up with the B is be the best that you can be.
Mhm.
Okay, so now we're on with the C. Do you remember any C ones?
C. Hmm. Can't think of anything off the top of my head that's a C. So what do
Well,
you have for me?
well, a C is the colors of the world, the colors of the rainbow. That when we stop and we think of the colors of the rainbow, there are reasons that they can bring us joy. But I was just reminded by that little bell. We're going to take a short little break because we just got onto something about how we can bring ourselves happiness in the moments of duress and stress. So hold on real tight, and we're going to be right back real soon.